Wasting money on cures. Forgot how to fix myself. They say that time is free. Then why is it so precious? Oh, I'll say memories in my head, like Polaroids on walls. They remind you to look ahead. Time is running out. Time is running out. Lately I've lost my track. I've sailed the deepest seas, hoping to find something to bring back better times. Oh, I'll say memories in my head, like Polaroids on walls. They remind you to look ahead. But time is running out. 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 Time is running. Time is running out. Time is running out. What if my best days are over? They can't be over. They can't be over now. Time is running out. What if my best days are over? They can't be over now. Time is running out. Time is running out. Time is running out.
Okay, hi everybody, welcome to our lunchtime revision session. A big one today. We're going to cover market structures and economic efficiency. You are guaranteed questions on this kind of stuff in paper one, and often it feeds through into the synoptic papers as well. So hopefully the next 25-30 minutes will be full of interesting application, analysis, and some evaluation as well. If you're watching live, please do subscribe to the channel so you can post your thoughts, your ideas in the chat window, and we try to select some great ones from the collective wisdom of our amazing student community. Before we kick off, quick reminder that we are indeed heading to London week after next for our 4-day gigs in London, 2 days in Westfield, Stratford, one for AQA, one for EdExcel, and then we get on the tube and go across to View White City to finish our grade booster tour. Fantastic day of revision. If you want to come along, there are still tickets available, and we'd love to meet our students face to face. A chance really to find a new venue, a good alternative, fresh location to lock in some very intensive revision. Okay, here we go, everybody. I think I've got 6 multiple choice questions for you, all to do with market structures. Here we go, and welcome to everybody as they're joining. Question number 1, which pricing strategy is most likely to deter new entrants by signaling low profitability? So this is where a business sets prices below the profit maximizing price. So they make some profit, but not sufficient profit to motivate and to incentivize perhaps the entry of challenger businesses. Quite a few people saying D, predatory pricing. Now that's when you deliberately price one or more products at below cost. So you're signaling loss making there. So it's not D. It's not D. The correct answer, a lot of people got it, is coming up on the screen now. It is indeed B, limit pricing. Now, EdXL fans, you do need to know the difference between limit and predatory pricing. Fortunately, there are separate videos on both on the Tutor2 YouTube channel. A shameless plug for another free resource. Okay, Charlie says, which type of firm would use limit pricing? Well, Charlie, link it to contestable markets. A firm might well feel that if they make too much of a profit, they might trigger a hit and run entry by some businesses. So typically it's a defensive pricing strategy to try and just ward off the potential threat of entrance. So use it in a contestable market. Here's question number 2. A profit maximizing monopolist is least likely to achieve which type of efficiency? And there are 4 listed on the screen there: allocative, productive, dynamic, X, efficiency. Now we can have a debate about this, but I think I know the answer. Which type of efficiency is least likely to be achieved with a profit maximizing monopolist? Most people, from Todd and Bruce and Danny, Adam, Ben and Charles, most people going for A, a few people going for D, and I can see why it could be D. It's a plausible distractor, to use exam speak. But if you're a profit maximizing monopolist, you want to avoid X inefficiency. So you probably want to achieve X efficiency. So the correct answer is A, allocative efficiency. And the key thing is that it's about price relative to marginal cost, as we're going to walk through together. I'll explain. I think I found a way of explaining why P equals MC is the allocatively efficient output. I explained it to somebody the other day and said, I've never been taught it this way before, and it now makes sense. So that's coming up in a couple of minutes. Could it be B, says, I was going to go back there quickly on that question, Jim. Could it be B? Well, unlikely, because monopolies tend to achieve economies of scale. So I think A is a more plausible answer. Okay, here we go. Question number 3. In the long run, under monopolistic competition, what do firms earn? I love this question. So go to the long run equilibrium. Monopolistic competition, what level of profit do firms earn? Answers flying in from Addison, from some of our great contributors, James Muir, Ted, Issa, and George. Most people saying B. Let's most people saying C. A lot of people, yep, double check the answer. It is C, normal profit. Yeah. So normal profit is associated with monopolistic competition because there are no barriers to entry. And if you think about industries such as yogurt or cupcakes, whatever it is, I'm thinking telling at lunchtime, they're fairly easy to enter the market, often with pop-up retails. People set up artisan bakeries and that kind of stuff. Good stuff. Question 4. By the way, the last question is hard. In perfect competition, the supply curve for an individual firm in the short run corresponds to what? Now, if you really smash your revision over half term, then you can visualize the answer to this. So what is the short run supply curve for a firm in perfect competition? What do we think? Answers coming through. Yeah, I think many of you will have revised the shutdown price. Leanna's certainly done it. Lucas, Sophia and Nathan. Correct answer is B. So the supply curve starts at the shutdown point, and then as it goes up above AVC, that becomes the supply curve for a competitive firm. Here's question 5 coming up on the screen. Which of the following outcomes would suggest a firm is dynamically efficient? Now, we are going to spend a little bit of time on dynamic efficiency with our application wheel today. So which of those would indicate that a firm is dynamically efficient? So Kai, Richard, I think a lot of, people, you've got this. The answer is D. Yeah, you associate dynamic efficiency, not always, but you associate it with fairly fast pace of product innovation, iteration, and reinvestment of supernormal profits. Great stuff. Lucas says, I can't wait for the application wheel. Well, Lucas, we've got 4 of them today, and you are going to be in application wheel heaven in just a little bit of time. Now, question 6, our last multiple choice question today. Which phrase best describes the market structure illustrated by the diagram if the firm produces at output Q1. So have a look at the diagram. Average cost falling, marginal cost falling below it. So it's a particular type of market structure. I wonder if you recognize that. It's a good diagram to draw, by the way. But the firm is, so the price they're charging is less than cost. Jed says D, it's a natural monopoly. Jed, spot on. So the best natural monopoly, of course, doesn't appear in the answers. So the correct answer is D. It's not B. A couple of people saying B. Well, it's not. It is a natural monopoly, but if you look at it at Q1, the price they're going to charge is lower than cost. So they're making subnormal profits or economic losses. Now, if you got, how many people here got 6 out of 6? If you did, can you post your score out of 6 in the chat window? Now, keep an eye, everybody, on the chat windows. Let's see who got 6 out of 6. Ben Gorm, Anna, well done. Nathan. Wow, fantastic. Some great scores. Well done to Kieran and Adam and Ted. And quite a few people getting, was it Steezy? Steezy got 7 out of 6, which is super impressive. By the way, that's one of the reasons why I lost one of my jobs as an examiner a few years back, because it was a job I gave my heart and soul to. And I always gave 110%. Okay, let's move on. My exam gold. A little bit of a prelude. In paper 1, I think this is why, I mean, there are well over 350 people in the live stream. You can tell this is a key topic. You will be writing about this stuff in paper 1. Believe me, you have to. They have to ask questions about market failures. They have to ask questions about the price mechanism and government intervention, and they have to ask questions on market structures. Okay, and you will always get higher analysis and evaluation marks by bringing into your answer efficiency and welfare concepts. That's what we're going to focus on in this session. So please do know your different types of efficiency, know how you measure welfare using consumer and producer surplus, and show these in diagrams. Okay, so monopoly pricing, collusion. Key point I want to make is that when you get a question, and maybe it could be an essay question where you could choose the industry, or you could be data response, but the outcomes in any market need to be judged on a case-by-case basis. You should judge markets by how firms actually behave rather than what the theory says. So it's a great evaluation for it. In theory, X leads to Y, but of course in practice, firms don't always operate in that way. Jed says market structures is the best topic in AQA. I agree, actually. And the students are really savvy. They know their diagrams. They've got good evaluation points and good application. Always do better. End of story. So that's why I'm having a session today. Okay, so let's move on. Let's bring out the application wheel. No timer on this one. So we've got 6 types of market structure, and I'm looking, please, from the collective wisdom. Let's please click the wheel. This is a random wheel. Power. Okay, so what can we come up with? If you've got a lot of people, by the way, somebody was saying when I watch this revision video, I have my revision notes in front of me, and I'm always adding to my notes, which was a lovely thing to do. So, okay, over to you. Natural monopoly, please. What examples can the collective wisdom of our amazing student group come up with? And we'll post a few answers as they come to the screen. George Mitchell going for National Rail. A lot of you saying Thames Water. I like that. TfL coming up. Yeah, really good stuff. Wow, what a flow. Otto, Southeastern Trains and Thames Water. Yeah, Southeastern Trains is probably not a natural monopoly. It's more of a pure monopoly, because you often have access operators. You can have more than one train operating company on one line. So, for example, on the East Coast line, you have LNER, you have Luma, and you have Grand Central. Okay. And George gets it right. National Rail. Yeah. The military, it doesn't make sense to have multiple. Well, that's probably true. It's less economic than some of the other answers. Royal Mail, some people mentioning. Okay. Nathan says, could construction companies be an example of regional natural monopolies? No, I think probably more pure monopoly or oligopoly rather than natural monopoly. Okay. Here are my answers coming up on the screen. Anish goes for rail network. Wow, some great stats there on network rail. So I've gone for network rail, the infrastructure. I've gone for the grid, the electricity and gas transmission. Things like BT Openreach is essentially a natural monopoly, although it's not. Okay, it's essentially a natural monopoly. Water and sewage services. Now, again, a lot of people are saying water could feature heavily in the exam. Thames Water. But it doesn't have to be Thames Water, by the way. It could be Scottish Water. It could be Welsh Water, which I think is state-owned. The Royal Mail, to a degree, because they have this universal obligation to deliver mail at least once every 6 months to half the houses in England. And they have to deliver every day, more or less 6 days. And air traffic control would be a good one. Ethan says, Geoff, what's your favourite water company? Well, my favourite water is Harrogate spring water, if you're asking. Abin says, Welsh water tastes weird. Well, that's good evaluation, Abin. Try drawing that in a diagram. Okay. Drew says, aren't companies like DAD and Every competing with, or DPD, sorry, and Every competing with Royal Mail? They are. So what they're doing is they're competing what's called the final mile service. And sometimes you make a distinction between the infrastructure and the service provision. Royal Mail, of course, lost its monopoly on delivering parcels and letters many, many years ago. Let's spin this wheel again. This was so much fun, and the answers were so good. Let's spin it again. So if we can get that wheel spinning. What are we looking for? Good examples, good application. Oh, okay, monopolistic competition. So let's give 30 seconds for the live stream to absolutely kick into place. What do we think? So people go for barbers, hairdressers, beauty salons, street food vendors. Good example. I might add that to my notes, actually. Restaurants. Will says hairdressers, Geoff, XXXX. Barbershops, nail salons. Yeah. Danny says pubs. Yeah. A pub's probably closer to oligopoly given the concentration of ownership. Independent coffee shops, says Ollie, and pubs. Food vans, gambling stores. Yeah, you've got it. You've got it. Turkish barbers competing with each other. Occasionally even cutting people's hair. Nice answer from that there. Local plumbing services competing on after-sales service or fastest delivery. That is a really good example. So local electricians, leckies, plumbers. Really good answers. Hairdressers, almost 30,000 independent hairdressers. Now, I've tried most of them in my time. I actually have my own hairdresser. A lot of people don't know this. I have my own hairdresser. It's called Marco, and he charges me £10 and a £50 search fee. I've gone for, what have I gone for? Oh yeah, I've gone for salons and beauty services. Did I tell you I once reached the semi-final of the World Manicure Championships? It was a nail-biting finish. I've gone for takeaways and small restaurants, hairdressers and barbers, and independent coffee shops and cafes. This is things like dry cleaning is also a good example. Yeah, 50p search fee is crazy. It's a lot of money, but it's worth it. Okay. Good examples. Right, let's spin it one more time. This will test you. Assuming the AI works in the right way, it's duopoly or near duopoly. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about this. Kyle says, Geoff, when are you getting a trim? Well, in the next week, actually, ahead of Grade Booster. Over to you. Duopoly or near duopoly. Now, there's no hard and fast rule about what is a duopoly. It's where the market is dominated by 2 or maybe 3. James comes in straight away, one of our great contributors with Boeing and Airbus. Classic example, but a really good one. Mock says Apple and Samsung. Chloe comes with Coke and Pepsi. Teddy echoes Chloe's point there. Georgia says Samsung and Apple. Woody Wood says Arsenal and Man City. I thought you were going to say Arsenal and Harrogate Town there, but not. Oh, I like Thomas's answer. High-end art market, Sotheby's and Christie's. Yes, that did lead to collusion. Harry says Nvidia and TSMC. Oh, up to date. Daniel says Visa and MasterCard. Ethan says tutor to you and physics and maths tutor. Yeah, I like it. I like these examples. Okay. Fantastic stuff. Okay, I've gone for, Maddie. Oh, lovely. Well done. Thank you, Maddie. Well done. Market structure where only 2 firms dominate. There could be more than 2 firms. Coke and Pepsi, Starbucks and Costa, PlayStation and Xbox. Good example. Okay. Abin says toilet companies, Koa and Toto. Right, you guys are flush with good examples today. Really are. I've gone for mobile networks. Essentially, the network infrastructure is dominated by BT, which of course merged with EE and Vodafone. So the infrastructure itself is essentially duopolistic, although you've got competition in that. You've got Visa and MasterCard. The one I think I'd add this to my notes. If I was taking revision notes from this session, I would add this to my notes. Parcel locker services. I don't think it's come up yet on the exam. Dominated at the moment by Amazon, Every, and InPost. InPost is owned by a Czech entrepreneur, and he also bought John Benz's, which is a leading kind of wholesaler distribution for WH Smiths and things like that. And I've gone for e-vehicle charging. So Tesla, InstaVolt, BP Pulse, there are others. But essentially at the moment, it's a near duopoly. Now, don't worry about if you get a question on duopoly, oligopoly, the examiners are not going to care. It's imperfect competition. And, there's no hard and fast rule. If you have, my rule of thumb is if you have two firms with more than 60% of the market, it's essentially a duopoly. Okay, great stuff. Let's crack on with, because we've lots to do. Now, this is the bit I said, if I explain this way, one student said to me a couple of days ago, I've never had it explained this way before. Now I understand. So, allocative efficiency. Why is it the case that you achieve allocative efficiency where price equals marginal cost? Here's my take, if it's okay with you. First of all, look at the supply curve. The supply curve is just basically a marginal private cost curve or marginal cost curve for a firm, and it slopes upwards. Okay, the higher the price, the more firms are willing and able to supply. The demand curve is basically the marginal private benefit curve. If you've understanding market failure, it's basically what people are willing and able to pay. At the intersection, point S, the equilibrium in a competitive market gives a price P and an output T. There's some consumer surplus of RSP, and there's some producer surplus of PSQ. Now, that is the biggest triangle you can have. If you think about welfare as the sum of consumer and producer surplus, that intersection, that competitive price, which equals marginal cost, is where you maximize consumer and producer surplus. You then maximize welfare. So that's why we say we maximize welfare when the price equals marginal cost. It's the competitive equilibrium. And finally shows that's society surplus. It is indeed. It's sometimes called community surplus or society surplus. Nathaniel says, couldn't you say supply is marginal cost, demand reflects marginal utility? Absolutely right, Nat. Absolutely right. So in a competitive market, if price equals marginal cost, of course we're ignoring externalities here, and the market clears at that price, then we maximize economic welfare. Okay, so consumer surplus plus producer surplus is sometimes called economic welfare or community welfare. If that made sense, give it a thumbs up. If it didn't, please give it a thumbs up. Let's crack on. Now, I'm really interested in the answers. Can you give me 2 reasons why allocative efficiency is unlikely to be achieved in a monopoly or an oligopoly? Over to you. Yeah, and James's answer there, brought up on the screen, I think summarises, neatly encapsulates the quality of the answers coming through. Leanna says monopolies restrict output. They use their market power to drive the price above cost. And of course, they can sustain that depending on the elasticity of demand because they are able to introduce barriers to entry into markets. So here are my 2 points. Coming up on the screen. And then we'll just want to show the diagram. That helps. Yeah, so I think 2 reasons. One is the market is protected. There are barriers to entry. So use your market power to raise price well above marginal average cost. That generates the profits. And then you use barriers to entry, such as IP protection, patents, and trademarks, to allow profits to persist in the long run. And I was looking, I think a couple of people might have brought in the idea of collusion. So in an oligopoly, price can be lifted well above cost if firms engage in either overt or tacit collusion to maximize the joint profit, to behave as if they were a monopoly. The cartel price is going to be higher than MC and AC. Now, cartels and collusion appear in different ways in different boards. So with Excel, you'd expect the cartel diagram where they find the highest price the market can sustain and then allocate the output. JT says, like in first degree price discrimination, yes. Well, and you're trying to extract all the consumer surplus and turn it into producer surplus. Great stuff. Okay, let's crack on. Oh, yeah, a quick explanation. Now, this diagram is quite a neat way of showing it. I know what somebody's saying. What's happened to these cost curves? I've just assumed cost is constant, perfectly elastic supply. It's a simplifying assumption. So marginal cost equals average cost. So I'm not making a distinction between fixed and variable cost. So the cost of supply is S every unit. And the monopoly will charge a price on the, look at the next slide, build here. The monopoly price is at P, output T, that's well above marginal cost. So a lot of profit. And consumer surplus is low, so inefficient. Whereas if they were to charge a lower price, let's move down on the next slide to output X, the charging price S, that will be the allocatively efficient price. Consumer surplus here is much higher, RUS, which means, of course, that there's a deadweight welfare loss of VUZ. So there's your deadweight welfare loss. So I'm confused. Why does MC equal AC? What I've done there, attracted salary, is I've just assumed away diminishing returns. I'm just assuming that the cost of supplying the good, a haircut, a vaccine, whatever it is, I'm just assuming the cost is the same for each unit. It just means I don't have to draw those fiendishly hard cost curves. I just assume cost is the same. Oh, question coming in from Danny. Geoff, what type of collusion is legal? Well, oftentimes you can have cooperation that's legal in terms of joint ventures for research. OPEC is a legal price-fixing cartel in the world economy, and so too is the Canadian maple syrup cartel. So you can have legal collusion. You can also have legal cooperation agreements between businesses. Superb stuff. Okay, so Sam says, where is the deadweight loss? It is the area VZU, because the price is driven up above cost. Don't forget, you can download this presentation. Last topic today, let's look at car insurance. So here's the market for car insurance, which I think is a good exam topic. Can you please put in the 3-firm and 5-firm concentration ratio? Now, yesterday I made a booby. I made an error calculating, so I think I've double checked. What do we think the 3-firm and the 5-firm concentration ratio is for the UK car insurance market? Zach, very quick. Must be doing further maths. Came in with the answers, I think. Yep, let's double check. 37% for 3-firm, and for 5-firm, 53%. Now keep in mind, of course, that's whatever, Aviva or One Call, Direct Line, Churchill, they have different brands within the group. So 37, 53. So the answer there, moving on to the next slide, it's not quite an oligopoly. We call that a near oligopoly because it's 53% at the 5-firm ratio. By the way, those who haven't done this before, you just add together the market share of the leading 3 or 5 firms. But the elements of contestability, a lot of these are new entrants. Ageas, for example, Alliance, they sponsor sports grounds. Hampshire Cricket, Lions Stadium, of course, with Rugby Union, and Twickenham and Saracens. Well, now look at the data here. And again, I'm just thinking this could be an exam question. On the next slide, I'm showing you the average cost of motor insurance premiums in the UK. Look what's happened. In the space of just a few months, the average cost essentially went up by 50%. Geoff's golden rule: if there is data in a chart or a table, there must be data in your answer to get those application marks. So this is a big issue. Some of you will be now driving cars. Over to the economics. Can you please give me 2 reasons that might explain that big increase in the cost of car insurance? Have a go. The rule of thumb for oligopoly is 5-firm ratio. 5-firm, 60%. So if it's 3-firm, 60%, it's more like a duopoly or near duopoly. So why is the cost of car insurance gone up so sharply in the last year or two? It's a big economic issue. And it allows you to bring in market failure as well as market structures. So it could be a really good exam topic. Ted hinting here at tacit collusion between some of those businesses. Lovely answer from Charlie, demand-driven price increases. Good stuff. What else do we think? Yeah, so Stan's talking about the lack of investment in the UK. Sophia talking about collusion of companies, asymmetric information, companies upcharge to protect themselves. George talks about moral hazard, people being reckless because they can be. Once you're insured, perhaps you're less safe at the wheel. There's a hint of that, I think. Also, some great answers coming through. So C talking about game theory, so firms collude. JT talks about increased number of crashes. Yeah, okay, I'm not sure. I haven't seen the evidence on that. Great answer there from Sporting Fire, increasing asymmetric information. Consumers don't know what alternatives exist. Firms take advantage of brand loyalty. Really good point. People don't want to switch suppliers, so the price goes up each year. Default, really good. Lots of people talk about demand pull inflation. Yeah, excellent point. I mean, there's a lot in this, by the way. This could be a great little market to revise. I've gone for 2. The cost of repairs have gone up. So post-pandemic, obviously a lot of supply chain disruptions. It's become harder and more expensive to import vehicle parts, particularly since we left the European Union. Paint has become a lot more expensive. So that adds to repair costs. There are labour shortages in the repair industry. Trying to get hold of a mechanic is difficult. Increased minimum wage. So the cost of repairs has gone up. And of course, you then pay that in your premiums. And also this kind of claims culture. So crash for cash schemes. People deliberately driving into the back of somebody to then make a fraudulent claim. And of course, this adds to the overall cost burden for insurers, which gets passed on to consumers. So loads of good answers, and any 2 valid points would be super. Okay, well, my final sort of 1-minute challenge question is the UK currency insurance industry likely to be economically efficient? In the minute, just choose one. Do we think this will be an economically efficient market? Have a go. So can you link this industry to one type of efficiency? Do you think the outcome would be efficient or not? Check on the chat window as answers come through. So Kai very cleverly links this to low price elasticity and consumer surplus. Yeah, that's good. Yep, some good answers coming through about needing to satisfy shareholders. Okay, so most people talk about allocative efficiency, which is fine. It's the price, isn't it? Really important. Okay, no. From Ben Garm here is there's little dynamic efficiency. There's a little way of innovating the car insurance. There's a little bit of insurance going on. A little bit. I mean, things like the Aviva black box, for example, would be dynamic efficiency maybe. So there are some examples, but it's not an issue you normally associate with people who are extravagantly innovative and full of good ideas. A bit like accountancy, really, or even worse, actuaries. Let's go with my answers. Conscious of time, a couple of application spinners to finish with. So I've gone with allocative. I don't think it is a market where it's efficient. Insurers such as Allianz can use their market power to raise price above cost, particularly when the branding is strong and there are switching costs. And quite a few of you are hinting at behavioral economics, maybe AQA students. Customers have behavioral inertia. Once they've chosen their car insurance, they tend to stick to a default choice. They don't always spend time looking for the best deals. So on the one hand, unlikely. However, there is some evidence now that price comparison sites compare the market, go compare, etc. They don't always give you the best deals, by the way. They don't often give you the full information. But it might be the case that as prices become more transparent, then there's more price competition in the market. But this is a good one to look at. It's a market which is essentially a near oligopoly. It has the veneer of competition, but the reality is that consumers don't behave in a purely rational way. Let's finish, please, if we can, because we did so well last time. Let's finish with an application spinner. And let's finish with dynamic efficiency. So here we go. I want you to give me some examples, please, to add to your notes of dynamic efficiency gains in electric vehicles and charging. Here we go, 30 seconds on this, and then we'll do one more. So let's say this topic comes up in a few days' time. To what extent is this a market where there is dynamic efficiency? Can you use such as, a bit of such as seasoning? Already, straight away, flying through more efficient batteries, higher voltage chargers. Yeah, improved battery life, really good stuff, excellent. That is a form of dynamic efficiency. James, has BYD's new fast charger allows faster charging in 5 minutes. Wow. Hinting at cars are more sort of sustainable in terms of how they're built. Wireless charging motorways in China from Leo. Love that example. Really good stuff. Yeah. Ethan says fast charging technologies at booths near Harrogate. That must be Ripon, isn't it, in booths? They don't think there's a booth in Harrogate. If there was, I'd be there. Okay. Yeah, Leanna, really, that's productive efficiency. So producing battery plants at scale will be more productive efficiency. But it's a valid point. Cars in China which can now completely switch batteries to charge ones at stations. Excellent. I've gone for pick a mix. I've gone for things like range increases, faster recharging, smart energy integration, the ability to charge at cheaper times. I think Octopus Energy tap into that. Software updates, customizable vehicles, anything like that. The examiners they're not looking for anything specific, but they're looking for something that's related to the sector. Pricing is more allocative, and unit cost of supply is productive. Okay. One more to finish. Here we go. Last one. We've done amazingly well today, and thank you so much for coming. We don't take it for granted, but also the answers. Let's spin that wheel. Examples, please, from the team of dynamic efficiency in fintech and financial services. Again, financial economics we did yesterday. Could there be a market structure question? Some of you will have Revolut and Monzo cards, and others will have accounts with Metrobank. Okay, let's see. 30 seconds. What's going to come on the screen? Follow the live chat. What are we going for? The Dean talks about Bloomberg connectivity. Harry, the use of AI to trade and to forecast. Yeah. Ethan, use of AI with JP Morgan developing Index GPT to aid financial advice. Wow. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Combined, obviously, with Examiner AI to test your exam answers. People talking about more accurate forecasting models. Okay, moving into alternate payment systems, crypto payments with integration now to PayPal and Revolut. Thank you, Ollie. Great answer. A couple more. We'll put a couple more on the screen. Monzo getting paid early. Yeah, so reducing those payment delays that can often come in. Higher data gives banks more information, so less asymmetric information. Real-time information, of course, on payment systems. Great stuff. Really good. I have gone for the following. I've gone for digital-only banking. Some people pick and mix, a hybrid system, but some people move completely to that. Faster payments, more secure transfers. People want that security, obviously often with layers of security. Peer-to-peer payments. If you're making a transaction to a mate, or if you're splitting a bill in a restaurant. A really good example, spending analytics. So the inbuilt budgeting tools and things like automatic savings features. I think Monzo has that, doesn't it? You can automatically save a certain amount into a savings account. If you spend £35 on something, it automatically saves £2 into another high interest account. And money can move automatically between accounts. Fabulous. Now, Federica says, are there more live sessions? When are they? And what topics will they cover? Well, next week we are going to have, I think, 3, for sure, Wednesday and Friday next week. Obviously, we've got Easter. We might do one after the weekend. Can you please type into the chat window the kind of topics that you would like me to cover? So this week we've done financial and we did market structures, because that's what people ask for. We will definitely do one on privatization and nationalization. But what would you like us to do? We will create some sessions for you on Wednesday and Friday of next week. Okay, and I'll have a look at these things. So we'll do session on development, maybe trade economics, behavioural. Yeah, we've done the labour market one before, we did a big one on that. Balance of payments from Ben. Competition policy, which kind of links in. Okay, a lot of people want behavioural and development and exchange rates and balance of payments. So I think those are our 3 topics for next week. Fabulous, everybody. Thank you for joining in. We do appreciate it. And I hope you have an amazing holiday with family and friends. But keep your vision going. Every 30 minutes you can put in there. It could be a past paper question. It could be revising a tricky topic, or just getting together with mates and working on an application. All of these things add up as we head into the really critical next few weeks. Thanks for joining in. Stay safe, stay happy, stay curious, and see you soon.